training with injury. So when you have taught for as long as I have, this comes up almost on a weekly basis. You're going to get someone from some class calling you, texting you, messaging you, letting you know that they have sustained an injury and therefore will not be attending training this week. To the parents, I appreciate you letting me know always. It's great to know for our numbers and to know where you're at and to know that it's hopefully nothing too serious. Where I stand on it is, and again, this is a personal thing, everyone can have their different opinion on it, is that majority of injuries you can train with. You just can't do certain things. So if you've injured your wrist, you can't punch with that hand. But I don't see what stops you from doing everything else within the training. You can kick, you can punch with the other hand, you can move your feet around, you can do footwork, you can do the majority of fitness. For me, it's not really a good reason to skip training. It's all too easy to skip training every time you get an injury, because especially if you're taking part in contact sports, if you're quite an active person, the reality of it is you're going to get injured quite a lot. It's going to be a regular occurrence. In fact, I can't remember the last time in the last, I'd say 5-10 years where I haven't had a niggle of some kind. My shoulder ache or my elbow aches or my knees, or I've pulled a muscle slightly, I'm a little under the weather. If every time there was something wrong with me, I probably wouldn't get much training in. And that's the issue. It's, if you want to train, then you need to put in the time, and that means working around things. The same thing goes for, other excuses for why you can't train. Work commitments, don't have the time, got to feed the kids, need to have a shower, blah, 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 blah. We all have busy lives. Everyone's got stuff going on. So to every time you can find an excuse, use the excuse to then not train, it's going to really hinder your progress, because you're just not going to be able to put in the necessary amount of hours to get the results that I am sure you want to achieve. But going back to injury, the trick is to work around the injury where and if possible. So again, if your wrist is even broken and in a cast, I will go as far as saying it, you can still come to classes. Let your instructor know what the injury is, especially if it's not apparent. Definitely let your partners know that something's wrong so that they can be conscious of it. This is especially important if you're taking part in any kind of a grappling sport. If you have a shoulder issue, you need to let your partner know so they don't stick on a lock and then cause you more damage. But same thing goes for striking. If you're not going to be able to move around as much and it's some kind of sparring, you need to inform your partner, because otherwise they're going to assume everything is fine and they're going to have an unfair advantage that they're not even aware of. And good training partners will undoubtedly adjust themselves to meet your injuries. So that's the first thing, is identify what the injury is. Be really clear about what you're not able to do, because there will be certain things. I'm not telling you to go out there and punch with the cast on. There are certain things you won't be able to do. And then figure out what you are able to do. And if you don't know, again, speak to your instructor. The majority of us, if you've got a good instructor, they'll be able to tell you what they're doing in class that day, what the plan is. And they will be able to offer you alternatives so that you can still come to training, still take part, but they can adjust the session for you in a way that you might not have thought possible, because you don't have the knowledge to know what to be able to do. If you're sick, so if you're, let's say, got the flu or you've got a bad cold, this is slightly different. There's a mentality, this hard man's mentality of just sweat out the sickness. It's not really the way the body works. So your body does, and when you get a fever, your body is raising your core temperature on purpose to try to fight what you're dealing with. But for you to aggressively raise your temperature by exercising, what you're actually doing is compromising your immune system. So your immune system is currently focused on trying to fight the bacteria or whatever it is that you're dealing with, to then go and put additional stress onto your body and release a whole bunch of hormones and all the rest of it through exercising. Not necessarily the best idea. Not to mention, you are then going to risk contaminating the entire class and the rest of the group with whatever you're carrying. So if it is something like a cold or a flu, I do recommend, especially in the early stages of it where these things are they're most contagious, stay at home, let your immune system start to get a hold of it and start to learn how to deal with it. And then from there, once you start to get on what's, the back end of it, get yourself back in. But again, whilst you're off sick, it's a great opportunity to work on other things. And this is another thing. Let's say you have got a real injury, such as your leg is completely broken, you're actually bedbound. This doesn't mean that your training has to halt completely. You can still watch video footage. You can still analyze. If you're able to move in any way, you're still able to stretch. You can still do certain amounts of balance work. Most people will recommend you don't do a lot of these things, and obviously consult with a professional before you do partake in anything like that. But I've always believed that the active rest is great. And where possible, when we've got a wound, it's a womb for other development. It's a place to grow in somewhere else. So it forces you to pause doing certain things, and it allows you the space, and it forces you to take the space to then work and develop on something else in your game. So if you got an injury, try to train with it, try to train around it. If you're sick, take as much time off as needed, but get straight back on it as soon as possible and do active rest. Still partake in your sport as and where possible. Even if you can't partake, come down and be around the group, be in the environment where possible, and share in the energy, and just stay in the routine of going, because that's the biggest thing you lose when you take time off with injury and sickness. You get out of the routine of Tuesday night, pack my bag, get out the door, go to the gym. You got 2 broken hands and maybe you can't take part in whatever the class is that day. Come down. Ask if you can just walk around and assist with the class. Just be present for the first part. Come in, show your face, make your way home. Again, this isn't always possible. We're talking ideal situations here. I understand that. But I'm just trying to encourage you to think of ways you can train rather than finding excuses for why you can't train. So I hope that's helpful to people. If you do train with us and you're dealing with anything, physical injury, sickness, please do always try and let us know. We care about our community, we care about our students. And if there's anything we can do to help you in terms of consistently maintaining your training through it or anything like that, then let us know. We'll always try and do our best to help you guys out.